Hi students, this video is going to be an overview of the report project. It might be a little bit longer than some of the other videos, but I will try to keep it as brief as possible. You want to keep in mind that the report project spans several weeks, so you might need to go back and forth to remind yourself of the prompt, which might be in an earlier week. So you might have to go back and forth between the week folders in Blackboard just to kind of go back and remember what the prompt was and what you're doing. So just keep that in mind, that you may need to kind of go back and forth between the different week folders in order to remind yourself of what's happening. So I'm going to start with the overall report prompt. And you can read about the project in this document, but basically what you are doing is you're going to be assigned a business and a social media platform, and the purpose of this is to write an informational report about how businesses are using social media effectively. What I like about this social media focus is that it's readily applicable to other countries and other cultures, because even though the different social media platforms might change depending on your culture or depending on the business, most countries and most businesses use some sort of social media to reach their customers. So I feel like this is something that is very applicable to the real world as well as to your own lives. Social media is usually something that most of my students are pretty familiar with and are kind of passionate about. So basically what you're going to do is conduct some primary research, and primary research means research that you do yourself, and you are going to use your data and information to compose a report which will be 4 to 6 single-space pages in length. Even though you are turning it in as a class assignment, I want you to think in your brain that this is going to your immediate work supervisor at the place of your employment. Okay? So basically you're working for a company, and you are an up-and-coming company that does not yet have a social media presence. So you're working at a made-up company that doesn't exist. Your supervisor is going to be a 62-year-old granny. So you're going to have to explain a lot of aspects of social media. You really need to be thinking about your audience here. It's kind of an exercise to see if you can write a document with this specific audience in mind. So remember that your audience is a 62-year-old granny, and that you are currently working for a company that is in the retail industry but does not yet have a social media presence. So you're not a big company, but you're looking at other big companies to see how they do it, how they use social media in order to help your own company. So the report's purpose is to be informational. You're going to give your supervisor information, and that should then be used later to help the company make decisions. So your main goal is not to persuade. It is to inform. So think about the verb report. You are reporting information in the report. Okay, you're not persuading. What you're going to be graded on is how ideas are organized, if the ideas are clear and free of errors. So that's using the paramedic method to make sure that you're using concise and effective language. You will also be graded on how you use visual content, whether or not the visuals are integrated within the text and have a context and explanation, whether or not you have carefully designed your report following the principles of design, and if you are following the genre pattern, if there is a clear structure to the report itself. Okay? So the next thing that is going to be helpful for you is the market description. And it talks a little bit more about the retail industry and what you're going to be doing. And we're actually going to continue with the idea of social media and retail into the proposal project. So that should kind of help you to keep in mind. So a best practice is a way of getting something done. in the best possible way. All right? So that's what we're looking for. How big companies use social media in the best possible way. For these projects, you'll be working for a new and up-and-coming company, not a company that already exists. Okay, you can tell that some of the things I go over several times are really important, so that's why I kind of bring it up over and over again. As you do your research, you're going to want to think about how your competitors and how your company are using social media, and you should focus on how they're using social media to promote their goods rather than kind of looking at the back end of retail, the manufacturer, distribution. So just keep that in mind, that you're looking at how the companies promote their product or promote their brand. And if you're interested, or if you're wondering more about how social media and the fashion industry go together, social media is becoming something really big in the business world, especially in the fashion industry. So it's actually really interesting. You can kind of look at some of these links to help you visualize things, but there's a lot of data and analysis that goes into how companies use social media. They do a lot of data mining and statistical data analysis in addition to using social media and things like that. So it's actually really interesting, and you can kind of look into it more. Things that you might think about are brand recognition, or how the company presents itself on social media, whether they're trying to make their customers feel special, or if they're trying to promote kind of a luxurious feel to things, because that can increase the perceived value of what they're selling. Something else you might want to consider is companies that only sell on the internet. There are even businesses, they're very small, but there are even businesses who only sell things on Instagram, which is really interesting as well. So how might a company that only sells online use social media in a way that's different than a regular store? So these are all things that I kind of just want you to think about and kind of have going over and over in your brain. The other part of the report project is you're going to have some smaller assignments that will help you to complete the report. So yes, the main focus is that final draft of the report, but the report plan is going to be something that you kind of do first. And the report plan is an email to me, but instead of emailing it through Google or Gmail or whatever, you are going to compose it in Word and then submit it on Blackboard. So please do not email me. Please follow the directions in the prompt. All right? And the tone and language choices should follow the convention of professional emails. And you're basically going to tell me your plan for how you're going to do the report. Okay? And you may end up doing something a little bit different, and that's okay. But you should try to make this informational plan as accurate as you can. So it kind of talks about what you should discuss, and I'm kind of handing it over to you a little bit. You are going to need to look up the proper formatting and conventions of a business email. There is information on this in the textbook. You could also find this information online. But remember that the genre of business emails should be very short. I shouldn't have to scroll down or anything like that. I should be able to find the information I need very quickly. And the paramedic method can help you cut down on those extra words and ideas. You also, in emails, want to use your subject line really strategically to explain your purpose for writing. And just to help you a little bit more, it should have a professional greeting, a clear purpose for writing, and your purpose is to explain your detailed plan of how you're going to do your report. So that's the purpose, but you should make that really clear. Body paragraphs that explain your purpose, a professional closing, and then not an actual signature, but what a signature looks like on an email. So make sure that you understand that. So again, you are not sending the email to me over Gmail. You are going to compose the email on a Word document and then submit it on Blackboard like all of your other assignments. Okay? But one thing that we do want to practice in this class is sending routine business correspondence like an email. So this report plan functions as kind of a practice of writing really routine business correspondence to make sure that when the time comes, you know how to send a business email properly. So that's one thing that's going to help you achieve the things you need to do for the report. The other small assignment that helps you get ready for the report is the primary research chart. So once you're assigned a social media platform and a business or a retailer, you are going to conduct some primary research. Okay? So find out who you're supposed to be looking at. Choose 4 different posts to monitor and record the activity of those posts. I would suggest that you try to vary your times and days, and then you're simply going to record the data that you find. So you'll take screenshots of what you're seeing and then take notes in these charts and fill in these categories. So you can see it right here. What's also really helpful is I do have an example of the primary research chart that you can look at so you can make sure that you're doing it properly. But one of the hardest things about doing research is keeping yourselves organized so that you have the research that you need in a place that's accessible. So the reason I'm making you do this primary research chart is so that you have the information you need and it's accessible. Yeah, I wanted the example. I think I opened the wrong one. Sorry about that. I just want you to be able to see kind of what it looks like. You can look at it on your own, I'm sure, but I just want to make sure you see it. Alright, so you can see here is the screenshot, there's the date, and then there is the information that this student found out about this post. So you basically just pick a couple posts and you're going to get some ideas about the kinds of posts that they're using, the kinds of images that they're using, how people respond to these posts, and things like that. So that is the primary research chart. So as a little recap, this is the breakdown and the number of items that is in the report unit. So of course you've got that main report, which is the final draft. It's worth a lot of points. It should be wonderful and lovely. That's the thing that's 4 to 6 pages, written to your work supervisor, the little old lady. To help you achieve that report, you're going to do the report plan, which is formatted as if you were sending a business email, but it will be submitted to Blackboard. And then to help you gather your research for your report, you will conduct primary research and organize it in the primary research chart. So hopefully that helps you to understand what the report unit is about. If you have any other questions, be sure that you carefully read the prompts and look at the samples, and then if you still have questions that you reach out and ask me.